I'm here with Matrix Swayze and The Generator, the co-founders of Pom Squad Fitness. And I am so excited to have them on the podcast. Let's start out first things first. What the heck is Pom Squad Fitness?
Oh my gosh, Pom Squad Fitness is a super fun dance fitness workout. We're going to dance to today's hits, yesterday's favorites. Everybody is welcome. You do not need to be a cheerleader to do this. And we're just a whole lot of fun. We're here to make you happy, make you move.
I think that's correct. I usually say it is you are ready to embark on your most positive dance fitness experience ever. Whether you like it or not, it's going to happen. And it's a good time, and the good news is you're already soaking in it. So you might as well just dive in and take a bath in the Pom Squad.
I hope you never let go of that metaphor. Just pull it through this whole interview. I'm never gonna let go. Please do me that. Do me that honor.
Yes.
I am so excited to hear the story of starting this brand because I have a feeling it's pretty unique. Matrick, do you want to take this one? Where did Pom Squad come from?
Yeah. So picture it, Chicago, 2007. I'm living in a ramshackle apartment somewhere in West Town. I mean, it's on Huron, so it's not just like somewhere in West Town. It was like Huron and Damon. And I was running a home for like wayward gay boys. And they just were like coming in and coming out. And one of them came to stay with me and was really sad. And we were both kind of at a turning point. And I was like, something needs to change. And we saw some self-help people on TV. And I was like, well, that lady thinks she has the answers. But what if we have the answers? What if we could create our own self-help philosophy? And from that, I created this thing called the Power of Cheer. And the Power of Cheer is about cheering yourself through all of life's obstacles. So like, you got a problem, look at the bright side, cheer your way through it. Like realistically, but positively. And from that, I created this show. And from this show, I got a grant from the Chicago Dance Makers Forum. It's one of the larger independent choreographer grants. And they were like, do an entire evening of cheer. So I spent a year researching cheerleading, and I went to University of Louisville and talked to anybody who was a cheerleader and got cheers and made cheers. And then the city of Chicago was like, would you be able to create a dance fitness form in the parks and teach it? And could it be cheer-based? And I was like, sure. And they're like, what would you like to call it? And I was like, cheer aerobics. And so it sounded cute and it sounded like aerobics, but was impossible to say and even harder to read. And so, but I did it, and it was super fun, and it was successful. And one night, moving forward, let's say 2 years, you can add in a hazy effect right here. Jenna and I are in a beer garden, and not just any beer garden, one in Wicker Park, not drinking beer because we're like that, but we're still in the garden anyway. And I tell Jenna about the class, and she was like, don't just talk about it, show me. So we got up and we started playing music, and I started showing her some dances, and she was like, I want to teach this. We need to teach this. I work at Indigo Studios. We can do whatever we want there, because Indigo was amazing at that time. And they were like, whatever goes. If it's fitness, teach it. If it makes people happy, teach it. And so we taught it. And it was a success, moderate success, not without its clunks and, little backfires, but it was good. And so Jenna came on board with what Jenna comes on board with, which is a sense of organization and let's streamline this. And I'm all loopy and all over the place. Let's high kick and just, wear short shorts. And but Jenna's like, well, let's do that, but also let's make this a thing. And so cheer aerobics turned into Pom Squad, because that way both our moms could pronounce it and or read it, as could the general population. And then now here we are. And it almost pains me to say this. It's like 10 years later, I think, maybe 12 years later. I know, which is impossible. I started it when I was 17, but I did. And here we are, late 20s, still doing Pom Squad.
So old, almost in our 30s. Wow.
Yeah,
almost.
Yeah, not quite.
But yeah, so there's the brief rundown. I hope that wasn't too much.
Never too much. The bathtubs, the details, the scene setting you did just then. So Jenna, as we kind of layer onto that, you came in to do the everything else. a Pom Squad, right?
Yep.
Yeah, well, it's like like Matthew said, I think that we're both a bunch of floopy kids that just knew that we want people to move, knew that we loved to dance, already knew that we loved the pom and cheer style of dancing that we had finally, the ladies of the world had been given the gift of performing with the power of cheer. Finally, we were all please let us be in your little squad. I want to do it. So that when it turned into this thing oh wait, we could turn this into a fitness format. And if I could just back up really quick, when we would do the practices for the performance that Matrick was just talking about, we were winded. I would turn to my fellow squad mate and be like, if we had a high kick every day, could you imagine the shape we'd be in? Oh my gosh. And I filed that away. I filed that went somewhere. So that when this came about with Matrick and he showed me that all the moves in that beer garden, I was like, we're doing this. We have to do this right now. You take care of the choreography. I'll take care of everything else. Let's just make it happen. Not knowing that everything else is really everything else. Administrative, marketing, and keeping up with all of eventually the captains and all this, all the stuff. And also obviously together we're doing a lot of the big picture dreaming and what are we doing moving forward. And we definitely do a lot of stuff together, but yeah, we had to figure out what our place was in this company and work together. I think really well, buddy.
Yeah. I mean, so far so good.
I think
there's still time.
Yeah, there is still time. But having taken a few of your classes live, I was stumbling over the word class because I wanted to call it experiences live. Yeah. You definitely have this rapport between the two of you, which is I struggle to call it anything but a stage presence. You have this sort of give and take, and which is just so delightful. I can't imagine any two people. I know you've trained other people to do this too, but any two people doing this the way that you do it. So talk to me about what happens in a Pom Squad class and how the instructor interacts with the humans. Or the coach, I should say.
Yeah, I mean, but the captain. They're captain, right? We're all they're captains of their squad, and that was part of our, as we were constructing this, we were creating this sort of verbiage too, who are we? Are we captains? Are we master captains? Or we're and who are these people that come to our classes? We decided they are your squad. And actually, when I created that self-help philosophy, part of it was about finding your squad. And Jenna, maybe you can help me remember here. Who is your squad? Your squad are your super qualified, understanding, athletic divas. SQUAD squad, right? And those are the people you want to surround yourself with. And so when we created Pom Squad, we were we just want to do the same thing, but en masse. We want to have people dancing and we want to experience this together. So the experience is a lot like that. We get together, we do it a little call and response. It's not anything you have to get off the book for, but we ask you to say something just like you did in the beginning, right? We'll try it right now with you, Gina. I say hard work, you say pays off. Hard work
pays off.
Pays off.
Hard work
pays off.
Yeah, and there you go. And then we give a brief rundown of class. We begin class, and the experience is not about necessarily getting the moves right, but it's about having fun. And we cannot stress that enough. It's listening to your body, moving with other people, sharing a space that is full of good energy and positivity. And that's really what the experience is about, right? Yes, I like to joke that it's not about getting the moves right, but it's really about getting the moves right. And it's that's sort of true, but it's really just about moving. We love helping people move and helping people feel better through movement. And it doesn't really matter what that movement at the end of the day looks like. So the experience is really about what you take away from it. And hopefully you take away something that makes you feel better and both emotionally and physically. I don't know. I feel like I answered that question in like 4 different splinters, but I think I got there.
They connected. Jenna, anything to add?
Thank you.
We also just like to make sure that whenever somebody is new in class, we welcome the heck out of them. We have sort of fostered this culture of not only do the teachers welcome the new students, the new squad mates into class, but also other squad mates, the varsity squad, people that have been there before. Listen, everybody, a varsity squad mate is anybody who's been to a class before. So when other people that have been to class before, they'll also be welcoming in those new people. We welcome them in the beginning. We shout them out at the end. We make them feel like they're the most important people in the world, because they are. And so that they feel like when they're coming into this like bizarre adult cheerleading experience, that they feel like, okay, it's cool. Everything's cool. Everything's going to be great. And that like, there's something about the Poms, you can turn into a different person. Like that's why we all have cheer names. We'll get into how we started with that eventually, but we have cheer names because everybody gets to turn into a persona, not just the captains. Anybody can have a cheer name. You turn into that persona, you put those Poms in your hands, and you are it. Like whoever your like most glorious inner cheerleader is, there she is, there he is, there they are on the floor, ready to rock. Do we need the Poms? Do you have to have the Poms? No, but they do look and sound amazing. And it's fun to have a prop. And they get heavy.
And they get heavy. Like I always joke that nobody expects tinfoil to get heavy, but it does. After a while, tinfoil makes your shoulders burn. And nobody saw that coming.
Yeah, make a fist with anything in it, and it'll get heavy eventually, right?
And put it over your head.
Amen, Gina.
Yeah.
I'm going to clip that and send it directly to my mom. So let's talk about scaling too, because it's not just the two of you captains. You now have more and more captains and squads, and you're training people in this really unique way. So let's talk about how you made the decision to grow beyond the two of you, and then we'll get into more on this.
Well, I think the necessity to scale came out of the necessity for Jenna and I to need to rest. Like classes needed to be taught, and we were reaching a point where like, well, okay, we can't do this all. Like it can't just be us. And we were talking about this, Jen and I, that we've had the great fortune of so many people taking our class and being like, hi, is there a way I could be a larger part of this? Is there a way I can help this be something else or be something more? And that included our instructors, one of our longest running instructors, Brooke Bogner in Bognito. Brooke, if you're out there, this one's for you. She was a student and was like, I used to dance and I hurt my knee and I can't dance the way I want to anymore, but I can do this and this brings me joy, and I would like to be an instructor and bring this joy to others. And so it really started with Brooke, was like our first captain ever. And we're like, okay, well, we're just going to try to train you and we'll see what happens. And from that, we brought more instructors on board. We created a training that we were able to then share with people. And the training is now turned from in-person to online. And really that's how we grow, I think. And Jenna, you can probably attest to this, that the more captains we get, the more squad mates they get. The more squads mates they get, the more people they bring. And it's really just about, I call it like spreading the mission. But I mean, that sounds like a little churchy, but
all fitness is a little churchy if you really stop and think about it.
Yeah, it's about spreading the good word. And I mean, honestly, our word is just about being good and cheerful. So I feel like it's not misspelling of it. But Jenna, what would you say about scaling?
As the 2020 times came upon us, in terms of like scaling the training, like our what we realized was, as Matrick has said, like the way that we can actually spread more out was through teachers. We learned like a little too late. I feel like it took us a long time to really like solidify a training and get it out there, because it felt like, like we just felt a little bit precious about it for a second. Like we wanted any teacher to feel like very successful and very ready to teach immediately. And we needed to like grow out of that a little bit. So when we were able to kind of push into more of an area where we could allow people to take the training, whether or not they had been group fitness instructors before or dancers before. And it really opened things up, especially because everybody's going to move differently. Everybody's going to take movement differently. And that's awesome. Like, everyone's putting their own unique spin on everything. So we're able to like have more in-person trainings in different areas, but it still wasn't spreading fast enough. Like, you could only get so many people in one place on one day at that place at a time. So when 2020 hit, and we definitely couldn't be in rooms with other people, but we could definitely teach classes out into the whole universe. That's right, the universe. More people saw what we were doing, and we started getting a massive influx of, well, what was massive for us, influx of like people saying,
tens of 20s.
Tens of tens.
Saying, I've got to teach this. I have to do this. When is the next training? When are you going to do this? Whatever. And we already had a training. So I said to Matthew, I was like, why don't we just try to do it online? I mean, we've got it. We can just turn it into something a little bit more online ready. And that was great. We had like our first training, which was a lot for us, had 21, 22 people in it.
Yeah.
That was pretty
insane.
huge for us. And then we kept doing those online trainings. And then, as Matrick had mentioned before, another one of our most amazing helpers, our most amazing captain, squad mates, she's also an ambassador, Heather Christie, was always very interested in like trying to help grow us as a brand. Was like, I've seen these other fitness organizations do self-paced training. I was like, what do you mean? What does that even mean? And she's like, well, you take your training, you record it, and then it's evergreen. Like, anyone can take it anytime. And here's the way that we would do it. And here's the platform we would put it on. And she knew what to do. And we were like, you mean like just do a training and then anyone could take it anytime? Yes, let's very much do this. So we did it. I was really proud of us. We created a script. We went to Michigan, where Heather exists, the Heatwave, Captain Heatwave. She taped it, she edited it, she put it all together, self-paced training. Now, anybody in the whole wide universe, once again, can take the training anytime, all the time. And we're still here. We're still grading, assessing your Q test. We're still involved in what's happening. It's not like you just take a training and you're off to the races.
Yeah. And there's brief quizzes.
Yeah.
There's quizzes.
You have to know
assessment. Stuff. And, and there's a time, like we say self-paced, but you do have to get it done within a certain amount of time. I think they have a month?
3 months.
3 months.
We try to get it done. We want them done in 4 weeks, but.
Yeah, that is 100% correct.
So we're talking about scaling, and I'd love to hear what you were most surprised about once you started doing these self-paced trainings. Was it hearing from folks in other countries who were now interested in being captains? What was kind of surprising and exciting to you?
I mean, I feel like the interest from the UK has actually been the most surprising. And like the level of enthusiasm from those captains, and like, they don't just want to take the training, they want to like choreograph. They want to teach it everywhere. Like, they are just so in it to win it. And not to say like our, continental captains aren't also in it to win it, but it was just something that like, we just had another UK captain take the training that I got the assessment for today. And I think that makes like, how many out there now, Jenna? Like more than, is it 5? Is it 10?
I think we're at 5. Yeah, 5.
1,000.
1,000.
1,000
Yes.
and 5.
1,000 and plus 5.
And 5. But I found that to be very surprising, is like where the interest comes from. And like, without us ever shifting, and by us, I mean all of us in the fitness industry being forced to shift to this online platform, it would have never happened for us. Because maybe it would have happened someday, because the vision would eventually have caught up to us, and that like need for us to have to be in the room to make it happen would have caught up to us, in the sense that like we would have released that need. But it forced us to fall into that. And I think it forced a lot of fitness companies to be like, how do we, for lack of a better word, pivot? Buzzword, hashtag buzzwords. But it did. It forced us to create this online thing. And I feel like it increased our reach and it went beyond the US. And I thought that was very exciting for us because otherwise it would have never happened, or not for at least another 10 years.
Yeah, COVID forced your hands.
It did. And I mean, our palms.
Our palms. Oh, thank you. Thank you. All right. So what's really fun to sort of hear as a thread throughout this conversation, even without maybe us realizing it, is you've been talking about community. You've mentioned folks who've raised their hands and literally said the sentence I've defined as community for a sweat life, like people who you invite to things who then start saying like, I want to help. And you're like, I don't know what to do with you, but sure. When did you kind of know like this wasn't just a class, it was a community?
I mean, honestly, I would say immediately. The first class was almost completely full, and it was definitely people that knew us. But by the time we even hit like the second, third, because we were just doing it once a month. So by the time with the second, maybe third class, we did have like a solid group of squad mates that were like, we do this, this, and this, and we'd like to help you. Like, I do graphic design, I do this. They also didn't know how they could help. They just knew that they wanted to keep it going. And then there's just kind of been that through line through the years, especially as like even our first little cohorts of captain trainees, who most of them had never taught anything ever. Like they just really loved it so much that they wanted to take the training just so that they could like learn about everything and be part of that community. But it was always about the interactive sort of, they wanted it to exist because they loved it so much. And they also I think they really did just want us as humans to succeed as well. Like it was always supportive from jump, honestly.
Yeah. And I think the culture element too is super strong. And I think community and culture can go hand in hand, but culture is also like how you take your values and sew it through. Right. And we've talked a little bit about this, but you're welcoming people who maybe haven't been welcomed in spaces before, especially spaces that include cheer, right?
Yes, absolutely. And I feel one of the obstacles about Pom Squad, I think that we face, and it's something that didn't even occur to me because as a gay male growing up in the 80s, like being excluded was just part of the deal, right? Like, so I didn't have I looked at the cheerleaders and I was like, God, please one day let me be able to dance with them instead of having to play this stupid game with this ball we're putting in a hoop. Like I would much rather be out there. But people have a visceral reaction to cheerleading is what I'm leading to, right? Like either you liked the cheerleaders or like cheerleading's dumb and those girls were mean, or like, and you look at it, and when I started thinking about cheerleading, it was more of just about the positivity, and I liked that they spoke in ways that rhymed, and I'm just really good at rhyming things, as it so happens. Like, I don't know, I'm not a rapper by any means, but I am a person, maybe, I guess they call them poets.
A poet.
But not a poet, I don't know. We'll figure it out. I mean, a cheerleader.
It would be so interesting to sort of hear like where you learned some of the things you're now using for Pom Squad. You have these elements that sort of allow humans like you to totally be themselves on stage as a captain and totally be themselves as a participant and really just like let loose and be authentic. So talk to me about the beginning, in particular, the roller derby story, where this came from. Where did these elements come from?
Well, we were always performers. Jenna and I met in dance school. Specifically, I will tell this story till the day I die. Jenna was on the stage dancing at Berlin, the nightclub in Chicago. And I stumbled in there and just said, I know you from Colombia. And I walked right by her. And she found me later in the club. And then we danced. But we've known each other since we were dancing, like modern dancing. That's right. The kind of dancing where we look at our hands and have breath cues kind of dancing. You picture Enya in flowy clothes. But from that performance experience, I think has led us into what we were doing now. And then I started this cheering thing. And then somebody was like, oh, hey, I saw you perform. I think it was like what was that place? That first place we did Power of Cheer, it was in the basement of somewhere. Shuba's. Yes. And that was the first place it was ever performed. And like, I was so tall, I kept hitting the ceiling. And because it was in the basement there. And we did that. And then somebody was like, oh, hey, the roller derby needs halftime performers. And that's when I was like, well, there's only like 2 or 3 of us. I need to branch out. And so Jenna came on board, and our friend Jill came on board, and our Susie, and we all started doing this derby thing. And we were going to like South Cicero Stadium. And I was like, this is either going to be great or we're getting beat up. It was like one of 2 options here. And they were so accepting of us, because I feel like people who do derby are kind of on the fringe as well. And we were definitely running on the fringe, and we got out on that stage and we did our silly cheers and our dance routine, and they just lost their minds, and they kept inviting us back. And then we kept doing more of it. And then eventually we were like, they all had derby names: Coco Bang Bang, Shaka Conduit, Who's Your Mama? And we were like, we need names too. And so Matrix Swayze was born in the basement of the Cicero Stadium. The Generator was born in the basement of the Cicero Stadium. One of our longtime squad mates, Gildo, was born in the basement of the Cicero Stadium. It was that stadium where a 10-year-old offered me a beer after the game. He said, "Would you like a beer, sir?" And I said, yes. So it was like that roller derby experience really helped push us forward, and also find one of our people. Like we were talking about community. Coco Bang Bang, who was a roller derby person, showed up to our classes, was like, I do graphic design. Can I help make your logo look the way it does? Like, I want to help make your logo look great. My husband works in video. Can he help make graphics? Again, it was like that community. I think we talked when we had a conversation before about like the weirdos. And I mean, we can use the word weirdo, sure, but you know what I mean? Like those fringe people who maybe are just thinking in a different way. And the Derby really helped us. And it was a really wonderful place to be around an inclusive, welcoming performance vibe, especially for something that like we weren't sure how it was going to be accepted. And it really helped change us. It helped propel us forward. Jenna, do you have anything to add to the Derby experience?
No, I think that like what you, just to kind of piggyback on that, is that we still always have this, like, we're very fused with the Derby and the Derby people. Like they all still kind of they'll thread in and out all the time. There's just something about the vibe, and our vibe is very similar because let's face it, we are grown adults dancing with pom-poms, telling you to dance with pom-poms, and dancing to all of really fun, super fun music that is all over the place. And I like to say, I don't know if you know this or not, Matthew, but I'm sure you do. I like to say, like, we're the dirty cheerleaders. Like, we're kind of.
I like to use the word adult.
We're adult cheerleaders.
It works on so many levels. It speaks to our age, but also like maybe we're in the back of the video store. I don't know. That's right. Kids who are listening, look up video store.
Look up beer video store. Holding something in your fist.
Also, Gina, you mentioned like performance, and I feel like that performance element carried into our classes, right? Like we were performing as cheerleaders. We performed on stage as dancers. And anytime I'm in front of a group of people, I feel like it is a performance, and not like I'm being in like not my authentic self, because that's what we really try to strive to, like, even the captains we're teaching, like, this is about authenticity. We're not asking you to like be someone you're not, or teach in a way that like pretend, go teach and pretend you're Matrick or pretend you're Jenna. Like, you are going to be your own like Sizzlin' Sammy, or you know what I mean, or Juicy Gina. There you go. I just found your cheer name.
I was just thinking about what my cheer name would be.
But I'm just thinking like, but it's about performing, but in a way that's very authentic, and that hopefully helps the people that are dancing with you feel like they can be a little more authentic themselves, because the sillier you are, the sillier they will be. And I think it's contagious. That kind of stuff is contagious, and it's a good contagious.
Yeah, like Patrick always says in our trainings, like one of the things that he likes about himself is that he's not afraid to be stupid. And I think that's like important. Like as much as we also like to say, we take this seriously so that you don't have to. Like and as much as we're performing for you, like you get this experience of like, I get to come to this class and watch these goofballs perform for me and also like teach me how to work out. But then you get to perform too. You've got this prop. Or if you don't feel like being a performer, you're just in it. You know, like it's a very nice, like symbiotic, everybody gets to perform. And as Magic said, like, it's not like you're being a different person. It's like that person that's inside of you that brought you to the class. Like for some reason you came to this weirdo class that there's something in you that wants to do this, that to let it out. Let it out. This is the place to do it. We love it.
I've loved hearing about the culture. I've loved hearing about being welcoming to the fringe folks, as I lovingly call it, the weirdos. I would love to hear, as you're scaling, as you're growing, as you're bringing on more captains across the world, where does the brand go next?
You want me to do this one?
This
falls under everything else, Jenna.
That falls in the other everything else category. You know, for sure, since we have been accumulating captains, we still are, like, our biggest goal is to continue building our captain squad, building our squad in general, getting more people to get the message out. And in that, we are also nurturing and building the captain squad as teachers. Like, we also want them each to excel as teachers, no matter what they teach. So we're really invested in putting things in place to help continually train the captains. It's not just like you get trained and you're thrown out. Like, once you are trained, you are on the captain squad. Once again, good luck getting out. We own you now. Like, you are a part of our whole entire lives. And so, like, building them as teachers is something that we're hoping to instill, because we want it to be appealing to be a captain. There's a lot of fitness formats out there. We want to be the most appealing one to teach. We're also we're branching out a little bit, and we're starting to look a little bit into creating a more codified situation for kids. Appropriate, and also self-esteem building, and also like
no dirty kids.
There's no dirty cheerleader kids. No, and we already have a couple of captains that are experimenting with that, because they have knowledge and background in especially teaching children. And then also something that's like new on the horizon, another spoke out, is a more accessible version of Pom Squad, where people that need a little bit more help with mobility will have the opportunity to still do the same routines, but perhaps there's a chair, or there's some other way that we learn how to move together, so that everybody, like, we really mean it when we say we're hyper inclusive. We want everybody to be able to do what we're doing at whatever level they're at. Like, our mission points are, we want you to find your inner cheerleader. We believe in squad spirit, and we want to provide a physically demanding workout, but that means for whatever community you're in, whatever squad you have, you give them what they need for their bodies. And so we're working on trying to make things as hyper inclusive as we claim to be, as well as we're just in the very infancy stages of developing perhaps a online studio in some way, shape, or form. So we're basically on the precipice of a few different things, mostly aiming towards getting as many people as possible to take our training and spread the word.
Absolutely. And our training is worth CEUs, by the way. Like, it is a training, but like, even if you're if you're certified through ACE or AFA, you can use it as part of your continuing education journey. So, not that, the experience itself isn't worthwhile, but it's not for nothing. Like, if something comes out of it.
You need to spend that money and use those hours anyway, right?
I mean, well, exactly. Like, if you got to give it up, you might as well just spend an afternoon with Jenna and myself. I've spent 4 hours worse ways, is all I'm saying.
So before we sort of wrap up, even though I'm desperately sad to wrap up because I want to talk to you forever, what do you want people to know about Pom Squad before trying it for the very first time that we haven't already said?
We touched upon it earlier, but that it is, when we speak about that inclusivity, like it's something that we really mean. And like, it is something for everyone. And it isn't something you should be worried about or something that could be intimidating. Like when I say it's your most positive fitness experience ever, I mean it. Like you're going to show up to a class and you might dance to the theme song from Saved by the Bell, and it might just be the best darn thing that's ever happened in your lifetime. And that's what we really are trying to get across to people. And also that, like, I burn 10 calories a minute when I take class. I get upwards to 6,000 steps. Like, yes, it's silly, but it's also a workout. Like Jen and I are both like well-educated fitness professionals who've been working in this industry for a long time. And we aren't just like willy-nilly creating routines that are going to harm your body. We're about like improving bodies and improving quality of life. And we believe that is a twofold experience that is existing in both our physical and emotional selves. And I feel like Pom Squad is a wonderful marriage of that. Like you leave happy and you leave a little more mobile and a little bit sweatier. And there have been studies that show that, you know, fitness with a sense of novelty produces like the largest amount of the happiness hormone in your brain. And I don't know, I know a few things, and hormones is one of them. So I'm just saying, there we go.
And dance. Dance has been shown to be linked to creativity. And joy is a facet of wellness.
Early onset dementia and Alzheimer's. Like, it's better than doing crossword puzzles for your brain, like neuroplasticity. Dance is amazing. And not just any dance, listeners, at home audience, leading and following dance, like dance with which you have to follow along to is best for your brain. Not to suggest that improving to Linda Ronstadt in the privacy of your own home isn't a good time or worthwhile. I'm just saying that leading and following dance is where it's at in terms of neuroplasticity and brain.
Jenna, anything to add?
I gotta say, Patrick, that was really beautiful. You said that so well. I really don't even know what else to say. I thought that was lovely. We really do hope that, I mean, even right in the beginning of when we started this, the thing that I remember is always, the through line was, we want to be a place where people want to move. Like we want people to move. It's so important to consistently move your body. And if we're one of those ways that you're moving your body, awesome. I'm so glad that we're here for you. We want to be that place for you. But the main point being like, move your body. And no matter what way it is, try us first. I mean, you know, or second.
I mean, yeah.
Thank you so much for joining me, Patrick Swayze, the generator. This is Juicy Gina from Sweat Legs We Got Goals signing off.